everybody out there in internet land. I'm here once again to break down The Walking Dead. This time it's episode 6, Live Bait. Episode 6 is quite a departure from the rest of the season. It's very governor-centric. Well, it's all about the governor. You don't even see Rick, not even Daryl, Sean, nobody from the prison. You get to see what happened to the governor after he pretty much massacres all the rest of his people from Woodbury. So he's pretty depressed about it. He's probably like, oh, I probably shouldn't have shot a whole bunch of people for no reason. So he's pretty bummed. He's still with Martinez. They're camping out, roasting marshmallows, and this walker's crawling towards the governor, and he's looking at it like, whatever, I'm not even going to get up. It, trips, falls into the fire, and then thankfully for the governor, Martinez kills it, and Martinez is like, alright, well, obviously the governor is gone, so I'm going to just go ahead and make myself scarce. So the next morning when the governor wakes up, Martinez is gone, everything's gone, all they left him was a tent. So he's gone, so the governor's all alone. He goes back to Woodbury. Woodbury's infested with zombies, so he decides he's going to have a nice barbecue and just light the town on fire. And then as he's walking, he sees like a name like spray painted, like I guess people are waiting for this guy. I can't remember exactly what it says, but essentially he takes that on as his moniker later on when he meets up with a family. It's Lily, Tara, and then their daughter. Well, Lily's daughter Megan, and both their fathers, David. So he goes there, and Lily's trying to. Is it Lily? Damn it, Tara. Tara's trying to act all tough, like, oh, I'm a former cop. I got a gun, and I'll mess you up, Governor, if you cause any trouble. And the governor's just like, whatever. I mean, the governor's practically a zombie at this point. Like, he doesn't even care. He's not really concerned about life at all. But he ends up warming up to this family, and they end up warming up to him. There's a scene where him and Megan are talking, and she's asking him, how'd you lose your eye? And he's like, I promise, got a pinky promise me. You're not going to tell anyone. She's like, all right, what happened to it? It's like, I'm a pirate. Which probably would have been my answer, too, because he does quite resemble a pirate. Especially with that beard. I mean, he's got a lot of gray in there, but he can still be called Blackbeard. But anyway, so starts to form a bond. Obviously, she reminds him of his dead daughter, Penny. So he kind of starts playing, like, the father role. And, he starts to really care for this family. At one point, Lily asks him to go get oxygen for David, who has stage 4 lung cancer, and, so he goes off, he tries to get a whole cart of oxygen tanks, and obviously that didn't work out. Ends up getting surrounded by walkers, having to fight his way out. So first time we really seen him show any sort of, like, fear, any sort of, like, self-preservation when it came to walkers, is at that point. And it's interesting, I wonder if it's because he's been kind of reawakened, or at that point because he's out there doing something for somebody else. And it could be a combination of both. But either way, he gets back. I think he was able to smuggle 2 oxygen tanks back. So her father's able to live for a little bit while longer. Not too much longer, because he eventually dies, and they're all standing around the bed, saying their last goodbyes. And he's just like, yeah, you guys want to get out of the room. And they look at him like, why? We need time to grieve. And he's like, you're going to be grieving with a bite mark. So anyway, David turns pretty quickly, and that oxygen tank comes in handy. So he ends up beating his skull in with the oxygen tank, much to the disgust and dismay of everybody. So Megan's afraid of him. He's probably more afraid of him than when they first saw him. It looks like he's a maniac, but at the end of the day, he saved the day. So, he's kind of grieving, and he's just sad, and so he ends up burning the picture of himself and his family, kind of like putting the person he used to be, behind him, and just trying to take up this whole new identity, and just trying to start over. And so he decides he's going to leave, and Tara stops him. She's like, if you're going, we're coming with you. Because basically, just to backtrack, they've been in this house, and they managed to survive off of a food truck that's been there for however long the apocalypse has been going on. So they know nothing about killing walkers, and they don't even know you have to shoot them in the head. So they're very, very much novices, and they're almost like Milton in the fact that they were saved a lot of the really grisly stuff that other people had to deal with while they were surviving on the road, since they've been confined to a house. So they know that they need him. So anyway, they decide to go with him. He doesn't really have a destination. He just burned his town. That would have been a good place to go. Hindsight is 2020. So he's like, I'll just go wherever the road takes us, and wherever the walkers aren't eating us. So they're driving down, and the truck eventually breaks down, as everything seems to break down in Walking Dead. And so they make camp. So he's got his eye on Lily, gonna give her the eye. She's giving him the eye, and he's just like, I have an idea. So they end up making out. They end up doing it. And I'm sure an earshot and probably an eye shot of her sister and daughter. But hey, whatever floats your boat. You got to get some while the getting's good. So anyway, the next morning they're taking off on foot, and it seems like, it's nice and calm, but obviously, that never lasts. So they're walking, and all of a sudden the governor spots a bunch of walkers, and so he's telling everyone, drop your bags, we got to run, we got to get out of here. And at first Megan doesn't want to go, because obviously she just saw him beat her grandfather sculling with an air tank. So she's hesitant, and then eventually she runs and jumps in his arms, and it's all beautiful. And so he's running, protecting her, and then he slips. Or he doesn't even slip, he just falls in a giant pit. It so happens to be the Walker pit that he used to use back when he was the governor of Woodbury. So, he's trying to protect Megan. And for whatever reason, he doesn't have his gun, despite the fact that he had a gun in previous scenes. He had a gun when he went to the hospital to get the oxygen tanks, or the old folks home, or whatever. But be that as it may, it was better visually that he didn't have it, because he just beat the hell out of those walkers with his bare hands. One of them he ripped the throat out, another one he used a bone to rip its skull open, and I don't even know what he did to the other one, but he got fucked up. That's what happened. So essentially, so they're there, and then all of a sudden, oh, it's Martinez. He's pointing a gun down at the governor, just like, what the hell, you're not a walker, you're not supposed to be in there. So, and it ends on that cliffhanger, like, oh no, what's gonna happen? So, obviously, they're gonna get out of the pit, because we've seen the preview for the next episode, and they survive. One other thing, going back to the gun, so he had went upstairs, looking for he was looking for some board game, I don't know. And he sees a walker that's in a tub that has a gun in his hand. It's not clear if the guy tried to commit suicide, maybe he got bit and he turned before he shot himself. Maybe he did shoot himself, but he missed his brain. Whatever. Either way, this guy's dead. He takes the gun, finishes the job, and, he lets Lily know later on that it's like, hey, I have a gun the whole time, when she's going to give him back his gun that she had confiscated. And so she's like, oh, I guess I shouldn't have trusted you after all. Well, I still didn't stop her from getting in his pants. So either way, that was that episode, Live Bait. It was interesting. It was very slow. It was kind of what the last thing I really expected them to do with the governor, especially when you saw him kind of looking like he's plotting around the prison. So it's interesting. I'm sure this is still kind of more of a flashback as they're catching up. So, I don't know. Maybe later he's going to go on to his menacing ways. Maybe Megan dies. Maybe he wants to take Megan to the prison. Maybe he thinks she'll be safer there. Everything's really up in the air, but it's interesting. It's an interesting direction to go with the governor. I think it's better simply because we've already seen the governor as a villain and as the main antagonist, and they've already done it. Why do it again? Just him with less people around him. So it makes it a lot more interesting this way. So I enjoyed it. Let me know if you enjoyed it, how you felt about it in the comment section. As always, go to punchthewallsreality.com. That's PTWOR.com if you don't want to type that all out. Like the video if you enjoyed it, share it. Let me know if you have any suggestions or comments relating to my videos. And until then, see you next week.